Pope John Senior High School and Minor Seminary is where I learned two values, that I just want to share with you briefly, and then I will take my seat. The first is the value of excellence. It came as a lesson to me from our assistant senior prefect at the time in 1998 when we entered Pojos, Nikpani Adi. Today, he's a reverend minister. I had visited friends at the seminary house, Krodoso and a few, and we were complaining about inadequacies of logistics on campus at the time. ASP Kpani spoke to us and said, one of the lessons that you need to learn in life is that you won't have all the resources that you desire, but you have to strive to make the most of whatever you have and rise with it to the highest standards, not just in Efijase or the Eastern region or in Ghana, but the highest standards all over the world. And before my very eyes, I saw it come to life. For those who recall, in 1998, there was Dumzo. There was an energy crisis, and almost every evening, the lights would go off. We would go sit under the street lights at Senje to study because exams were on the horizon, and you would not be allowed to use the lack of power as an excuse for having failed. You had to rise above the difficulties and strive to make the best out of it. In many of our classes at the time, we didn't have the full complement of teachers. In fact, in my class 3 Business 2 later, I recall that there were some of the subjects that colleagues had to master and teach other colleagues. For a business student, I took interest in biology. Until today, I can recall my notes on the external intercostal muscles moving up and out, and a few other matters. You could not use the lack of a full complement of teachers as an excuse. And so we will find a way of innovating, sharing the lessons among ourselves, and teaching ourselves, more importantly, striving to the highest levels, not just in the Efijase, Eastern region or Ghana, like Kpani said, but the world all over. It was the same spirit that took us to take on the whole nation at the National Independence Day debate in the year 2000. And despite all the big names and other schools that we heard of, we managed to strive through with our inadequacies and ended up winning the 2000 National Debating Competition of the Republic of Ghana. Interestingly, it was myself and my good brother Titus who were the debaters for Pope John Senior High School and Minor Seminary. This same lesson of excellence is what took me into journalism, where once again, I had no training, no background, no logistics. But I remembered the words of Reverend Kpani Adi, that in that same vein, I had to learn, build capacity, and make the best out of the opportunity ahead of me. It took me further into a law career. None of my parents, indeed in my family, there had been no lawyer. But then again, those same words, to strive, to study, to learn, to practice, and do your best. Today, I run my own law practice in Accra, and I'm also now training young, sharp lawyers to make waves in the profession. And I also try to pass on to them that same lesson, strive for excellence. In recent times, it's taken me into politics and governance. And for every document that comes before me, every policy that we interrogate, I try to apply that same lesson of excellence. And where I fail, I try to own up to it. In fact, quite recently, if you watched in Parliament, I was in a back and forth with the education minister on something I thought he was wrong about. And he said, no, Kojo, I know this for a fact. And when I checked and I found out that he was right, that same level of, or that same spirit of excellence got me up on my feet to say, Mr. Speaker, the minister is right, I am wrong. And I pray that you build that same level of excellence as you go forward. Do not think too highly of yourself. Bury your head in the work, regardless of the circumstances, and strive for excellence. Not just in Efijase, not just in the Eastern region, not just in Ghana, but for the highest standards all over the world. The final of the two lessons that I want to share with you, and I'll take my seat. Before then, let me make the point that things have never been and will never be perfect wherever you will be. But you have an opportunity to look within and decide that you will excel no matter what, and you will build the skill and the capacity to challenge yourself and to excel. Be one of the excellent ones that we can count on in the near future. As I mentioned, the final of the two lessons, Pope John gives you a perfect opportunity to build lasting relationships, and if you build those relationships, you will find them handy in the years ahead. A few years ago, I had a family member who needed to undergo surgery in an area that I suspected a few of my colleagues had expertise in. I wondered and I looked around for a surgeon I could trust. His name, Professor Titus Bayu. So I spoke to him and I said, a cousin of mine has this condition, can you help out? He said, bring the cousin over. We took the cousin over. When the surgery was done and I asked for the bill, he said, my friend, get out. It's been sorted out already. That is the value of the relationships that you will build here. When I started my law practice, I was looking for seniors who I could learn from. I found one person whose practice I admired. His name is Justice Opong. Today, he is a Court of Appeals judge. As I interacted with him, he told me, I'm a Pojoba myself. Today, he's here as well. Those relationships will take you far. In the heat of the 2016 elections, when we needed to do some back channeling, there was a Pojoba that occasionally I'll reach out to. Hardly will he not pick my call. Even if he couldn't, he will return my call. Pojoba or Manebuama, those relationships will take you far. When we got into government and we needed to understand a lot of monetary policy, there were a number of people at the Bank of Ghana. But there was one who took a keen interest in me, who called me close by and took an interest in trying to teach me the rudiments of monetary policy. His name is Pojoba Maxwell Opoku Afari, a former deputy governor of the Central Bank. And so for me as well, when I found one of my colleagues showing up in Parliament as a fresh member of Parliament, from one boy, like we say, who needed to find his feet in Parliament, I took delight in taking pains to show him what the standing orders are, what you can do and what you cannot do. Today he's here. Pojoba Paul Chumberima, a former member of Parliament. Manoma, we like to call him. And as you know, now me too, I'm a slight big boy in Parliament. Tema. I was there when two young men came to me and said that they were finishing their national service and wanted an opportunity to get a job. I also needed a legislative assistant, so I asked them to provide their CVs. One of them happened to be a student who had graduated from Pope John Senior High School and Minor Seminary. You can imagine who I picked. Today he's here as my legislative assistant, learning the ropes in Parliament. So make it a point to build lasting relationships because you will find them handy in the near future. Pojoba, Pojoba, Pojoba. My Lord, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kwejo Opong Nkrumah Esquire. Pojoba 2000.